Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. Every Monday night after The Bachelor, we recap the show, give out awards. This is a little bit delayed because we had some technical difficulties, but thank you for staying with us. We'll be here every Monday night after The Bachelor. Also, if you're here, I want you to comment. I want you to subscribe to my channel. Comment and subscribe. Comment and subscribe. That's all you got to do. That is, I consider that payment for this fun recap that we're about to do. And let's get into it. We had episode 1 of Matt James's season. Exciting. Everyone seems super pumped. The audience especially. What's crazy about Matt James and the excitement surrounding him is that we don't know him at all. All we know is that he's Tyler C's friend, which shows you how hot Tyler C is. We were just like, yeah, we trust anything that good-looking guy says. And then the other thing we know is just Matt James's social media presence. And he seems dynamic. He seems smart. He seems fun. He's good-looking. So that's really it. And it's but for whatever reason, the audience is just like, we're in. It shows you how charming he is. Charm is that secret sauce that you can't just have or attain. You just have to have it within you because Matt James has it. That's what's so crazy. Because Claire Crawley, our 2 bachelorettes ago, I guess, Claire Crawley told us that she fell in love with Dale via his social media. And we were all like, Claire, yeah, right. You're crazy. Come on, Claire. We know you met before. Yet America fell in love with Matt James the same way Claire fell in love with Dale. So we're a little bit hypocritical there. We start the show with Matt James getting introduced. He is introduced basically from his introduction. We know that he has trouble being vulnerable. He had an interview with his mom, an interview that it felt like was scripted because I don't know a mom in the world that looks at their son and goes, when was the last time you were vulnerable? That's how a therapist talks to their mom, talks to their kid or a kid. That's how a therapist talks to someone. That's how a TV host talks to someone who had drug and alcohol issues. That's how someone who cheated on their spouse gets talked to by Barbara Walters. When was the last time you were vulnerable? We have this montage, and from the montage, we find out Matt loves working with kids, loves giving back. He's very active. Half of his montage was him working out. At this point, if you were sitting next to your girlfriend, she's probably sweating and just like, oh, no, he's cool. He seems fun. He's very active in the community. Yeah, no, she's about to slip off the couch because he's so hot. So we learn all this stuff about Matt. He seems good. He looks off into the distance multiple times, and he says he's ready, which I'm going to tell you, it feels like he might not be. The social media presence that I saw, he's done more boys trips in 1 year than I have ever done in my entire life. So I don't know if that was, let's get it in before I go on this other whirlwind adventure, or is it somewhat, like, because boys trip guy, I know boys trip guy. Boys trip guy ain't sitting there going, oh, I got to stay home. We're going to do Sudoku on the couch, me and Heather. This boys trip guy isn't like, oh, I can't go to Aspen. I can't go to the golf game. I can't go hiking or swimming or the strip club. I got to stay home where me and Stacy started Survivor and we're going to watch all the seasons. That's not Matt James, not boys trip guy, who is what seems like Matt James is. So we get to the house, and we're about to meet the women. And this is when Matt kind of lets us in. We're about to meet the women. The limo's driving up. He looks at Chris Harrison. He goes, I want to ask you a couple questions. I like when The Bachelor takes control of the show. I like when the main character acts a little producery. And so Matt James does this with Chris. He looks at Chris and goes, let's go. And Chris is like, yeah, they're driving the women are coming. They're right out there in the car. And he goes, yeah, they can wait. And Chris goes, yeah, fuck them. They can wait. And they just go. They just leave. And they just leave these women sitting in 6 limos, the most uncomfortable sitting position ever, squeezed in with 8 other, women in the same limo. So then they go to the cigar room, and Matt James basically tells Chris 2 things. And I think this was the smartest thing Matt James could do, because you want to come out of the Bachelor experience with an audience that loves you. Matt James is friends with Tyler C. Tyler C is beloved. Tyler C has never said anything wrong on the show. Tyler C has also never had to really make a tough decision on the show. All the decisions were kind of made for him. Hannah B dumps him. Hannah B says, hey, I don't want to sleep with you. I hope that's okay with you. Of course he said it was okay. He's not going to be on TV like, no, I'm going to fucking sleep with you. I've done this. I've talked about this on other episodes. Tyler C had a road that was plowed by God. And now we all love him for it. Plus, he's the most gorgeous human being alive. So Tyler C has taught Matt James, you got to be liked. You got to be loved. You got to have people behind you. And you can't disappoint people. So Matt James has this talk with Chris Harrison. He talks about 2 things. He says, I'm the first Black Bachelor. There's a lot of pressure with that. Yes, totally agree with him. This is a huge moment for the show. Long time coming. And he says, I am just letting people know right now, I don't know who I'm going to end up with. I don't know what their background is going to end up with. He basically says there's a lot of pressure because I represent something to other people that might not be a big deal to me, which I can see that. That would be so tough if someone at home is going, well, if he picks a certain type of woman, I'll be disappointed. And so he gets in front of that. So he tells the audience, this is him telling the audience, hey, you don't know, this is my journey. Then he tells Chris Harrison that he's never said I love you, or he's never been in love, and he's nervous, and he basically lets him know, this might not end in marriage. And he's letting the audience know, hey, I'm setting myself up to have an excuse if I don't find the one. My excuse at the end will be, I have trouble opening up. I don't know who to choose. I don't know if this is the right thing. I'm not ready. He is already saying, maybe this ain't it, on episode 1. So then he comes back from this talk with Chris in the cigar room. They bring out the women. I love Limo Night. Limo Night, we got all the fun and excitement, the memorable ones, the woman that came out with goat toes. That was fun. No just, hey, look at my goat toe. And then there's another woman that came out, the person that came out naked or in her lingerie had him choose the dress, which is a fun moment for any guy. We're like, yeah, I'd bone in both. What do you want me to say? My girlfriend has asked me, well, what do you think of this dress? And I'm like, and then she's like, oh, you never know. And then you always get in trouble when you're asked what you think of the dress. So, I mean, my trick is I just go with those shoes, and then she just runs away. So that's that little tip here from the JTrain. The big one from the limos was the vibrator girl. A woman comes out of the limo with a vibrator in hand, telling Matt that's her best friend from the quarantine. Hilarious. I loved it. I don't know why they had to block out the vibrator. This is a show where Hannah B once said that she fucked Peter 4 times in a windmill. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, totally. You had sex 4 times in a windmill. And then we see a dildo or a vibrator, and we're like, whoa, cover it up for my virgin eyes. Blot it out. Do not let the kids see. And it's like, come on, Bachelor. We don't need, show us the vibrator. We want to see it. Was there a vein on it? Was it too realistic for the kids at home to see? Come on. It was pink. You can let the vibrator show on TV. The last one was a fun wrinkle on the limos was there was also a window from in the hotel that was looking down on the place they were entering. I called it the hate window, this round window, and the women would stand up there and just look down and judge every single person. I loved it. I think the hate window should be a part of every limo entrance. episode. They should just keep switching the women. We should get a live tweet. I want more hate window. I want the hate window on every, on every limo opening. So the hate window was fun because every time someone would show up, they go, oh, look at her. She brought a dress. And you just get like kind of the fear that sets in from the other women, because what happens on Limo is some people get to be creative and some people don't. Some people get to walk up and go, hi, I'm, Lisa, and I can't wait to meet you. And you make my water sizzle. I don't know. They come up with something stupid. And then other people pull up in a, like Victoria with men carrying her like she's Cleopatra. And they go, I should have hired 4 men and had them risk their lives during a pandemic to carry me in for the Bachelor. Oh, I missed an opportunity. So some people get a fun one and some people don't. So we go in the house. The limo entrances were fun. We meet all the people. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of contestants, 32. That's a lot more than I think than usual. Just felt like a busy house. So now we come into the house. Matt greets the women, and there's this moment where usually the Bachelor, Bachelorette is like, welcome to the show. I can't wait to meet you. This is exciting for all of us. Matt James decides that he's going to lead the women in prayer. I can't believe it. I watched this moment and I was screaming. Matt James, I understand that prayer is a big part of your life, but what are you, the Pope? What are you going to lead a sermon? You're going to sit there? Like, he goes, now bow your head. Dude, you are standing next to a used vibrator that some woman brought and called it her best friend. You're sitting there going, now bow your head, let's speak to God. These are 32 women who are all dating you at the same time. Unless you're leading a Mormon church, this doesn't make sense with God. God isn't looking down being like, good job, Matt. You crush it. Oh, any man would love this. And then they all bow their head. He goes, bow their heads. Not one woman even says no. Not even every woman. This is the thing about this show is Matt James goes, bow your heads, I'd like to do a prayer. And they all just go, like, not one woman was like, what? I'm Jewish. Not one woman was like, hey, I'm kind of atheist. I'm atheist. I don't know. Does God exist? We just had a global pandemic where like 1 billion people just died. Are we sure about this God thing? Like, no one stood up and like during the prayer, everyone went along with it. No one like opened an eye and was like, does anyone else think this is ridiculous? Like, was the vibrator sitting there going, what is this? Like, it just was a weird moment, but I should also tell you about the woman that Matt James is going to choose. Faith will be a big part of that. That is a telling moment. Whether you agree or disagree, we're going to find a woman that, maybe if you're sitting at home yelling at the cheering for the vibrator, you might not be sitting at home being like, liking the woman that Matt James chooses. This could be, this could be foretelling the future. He gets done with his service and we're going to get to the, so now we're in the house and everyone's introducing themselves. Everyone's can I steal yas? These are the can I steal yas. Everyone's getting their chance with him. Kayla gets a great interaction with him on the back of the truck. I thought it was tough to remember all these people, but the one big moment was Mari goes and talks with Matt and they're talking and he asks her about Matt doesn't feel comfortable in the role yet. Let me just say that. Matt is sitting with Mari and he goes, and she says, well, my family's from Puerto Rico. And Matt turns into, his mom, the interviewer, and is like, so with everything going on in Puerto Rico and the hurricanes, it just felt like he had to like reference hurricanes in Puerto Rico. Like, and then Mari, and this even goes back to when he was introducing himself to the women. When they were coming out of the limo, Matt never felt comfortable. He referenced being nervous like 30,000 times. They would walk away and they'd be like 4 inches away from him and he'd go, she's incredible. It's like, Matt, they can hear you. They're like 4 feet away from you. Like if I was walking away and I heard he's incredible, I'd be like, what? Me? Did you say something? Oh, you were talking about me just to yourself, but I can hear you, just letting you know. Like, so Matt never felt comfortable, and it kind of showed throughout all of these interactions where everyone's trying to get to know him. He even says it. He was like, I felt like a robot. The best scene in all the Can I Steal You is the best was when Mari is talking about her family in Puerto Rico and the hurricane, and all of a sudden Katie, the vibrator girl, comes up and taps Mari on the shoulder with the vibrator, which I agree is a little startling. This vibrator, she's using the vibrator like one of those keys that make it so you don't have to touch the buttons and get germs. She's using it like one of those keychains that let you press buttons on the ATM so you don't have to touch it. And it's like, I think it's funny. And when they come back to it later, Mari is a little offended. She's like, and Mari does the thing that the person with the least sense of humor does. If they feel they were embarrassed or they feel they were wrong, they take the moral high ground. She started being like, and yeah, she touched my shoulder with the vibrator, as if we go, oh, as if it was the equivalent of her walking into like the COVID ward of the hospital and having a woman just cough in her mouth. Like that's not the same. It's a vibrator. It's a prop. It was fun. Katie, the vibrator woman, was great about it. She's like, maybe she needs to use it. She could use it if she's so mad. And it's like, I liked Katie in that moment. So the last part of the meetings is Victoria. Victoria, you can tell, came on the show for the reason to become a big star or to become a well-known person. Nobody acts like that. She calls herself the queen. She walks in the house. First of all, she slipped on her way in. And then she walks in the house. She's like, what's up, bitches? If you're wearing a crown, I can't imagine that anyone on earth lacks so much awareness that they would walk into a house wearing a tiara going, what up, bitches? As if they were a 21-year-old woman on her 21st birthday. Like, I have to believe that there's some more maturity than that. Victoria then basically makes everyone aware of her in the house. She is telling everyone what to do. She's going up to, so there was a woman who didn't see, hadn't talked to Matt yet. And she's like, talk to him, go. And it's like, that's the most annoying person in the world. Victoria was really, it made you shudder because I think all of us have a little Victoria in us. All of us have acted like Victoria on a bad drunk night. Victoria is who we imagine we are when we wake up the next day and we go, oh, was I the worst last night? That's what we imagine we did. And usually we're not. But so that's like, and Victoria also, we know someone like that. We've dealt with someone like that. We've taken care of someone like that. So there was a lot of douche chills we're getting from her kind of being the girl with the 21st birthday who needs to make the whole bar about her birthday. We get to the rose ceremony and he cuts a lot of women. A lot of them stay. But honestly, it was a good episode. It was fun. The Nemacolin Hotel, it seems like a nice venue. It seems nicer than the La Quinta. And we're going to have a fun season. Let's give out some awards. The Batches is where I give out awards. My roses go to the characters on the episode that we enjoyed the most, and then divorce papers go to the characters that we just couldn't stand. And let's start with the roses. The first rose got to go to Kayla. Kayla made the best decision she could make. She's from North Carolina. She knows Matt James is from there as well. She brings the pickup truck. She hammered home North Carolina. I'm just like you. I'm from the place you're from. I am home. That is the smartest decision anybody could make on night one. She brings out the truck. It's all fun and games. Next rose is the vibrator Katie. Vibrator Katie, it's easy to look at her and go, oh, a woman brought a vibrator. She made it fun. She's dinging her glass to get everyone's attention with the vibrator. She's, nudging people's shoulders with the vibrator. She's dancing with it. She's got it around her face. It was all fun and games, and it showed an awareness that this is supposed to be a fun time. Last rose goes to the hate window. I think we need the hate window on every date, on every interaction. We need to have 3 women set up behind a window that the people on the date can't see, where we just get to hear them talk shit about what's going on. They were up in that thing. You could see it. That one girl brought out the stepping stool, and they were like, oh, a stepping stool. Oh my God. Somebody brought their, their squatty potty. And you're like, that is great. I want it. Just every time they went to that hate window, I was just so excited to hear what they were going to say, see a reaction, see them react to the look of the person, what they did, what they were doing. I loved every moment of the hate window. Let's do some divorce papers. My first divorce paper goes to Mari. You got too offended. You got too offended by the vibrator. It touched you on the shoulder for 5 seconds. You kind of showed yourself as having no personality. You showed, and this happens, I believe the hotter you are, the less you get jokes, and the more you make things a moral problem. So it's like, can you believe? I mean, touch me on the shoulder, because now it becomes like a personality trait. I'm the one who was, I was the one that was wronged by this vibrator, and oh my God, I'm sure it was up every crevice of her body, and then it touched me. I should go get COVID tested. And it's like, Mari, you need to relax. Next divorce paper is going to go to Victoria. Victoria, the problem with Victoria is that she makes us all look in the mirror. All of us have been the tiara girl at the party, or have felt like we were being that person. All of us have gotten a little too drunk and thought, oh my God, what did I say? What did I do? Was I a monster? And Victoria just was that on screen for us to see. And that's why it made us hurt a little bit inside. We've all been that person. We all have that within us. We all have the ability to be a mess and a drunk and an asshole. You knew she was not a nice person when the woman said she hadn't gotten times with Matt James, and she goes, just talk to him. Go. Talk to him. Literally talk to him. Talk. And it's like every one of us have been in that position where someone is telling us, trying to scream confidence into us, and they're the worst. I've been that. Go talk to her. Go to the bar. Just talk to her. What's the big deal? It's like, hey, the big deal is, this is a big deal. Why don't you lay off of me? Why don't you let me go do things on my own? Victoria, we have all dealt with a Victoria in our lives. And that's why male, female, young, old, everyone couldn't stand her. I can't imagine someone going, wasn't Victoria great? Like, I can't. The last divorce paper goes to Matt James. Matt James, I know you're new here. And I know you've never been on the show, but that excuse doesn't work for me. You have been given the torch of The Bachelor. We can't hear about you talk about how nervous you are for 80 minutes. We can't, and I think you did a lot of good. I think that there's some getting used to this whole thing, but we want the dynamic, fun, energetic guy we saw on Instagram, the one we fell in love with. Tonight we got a timid, a little bit awkward, a little bit robotic version of that. I hope it gets better. Obviously it is, but I think tonight wasn't a great Matt James night, and it will get better, but that's our show. That's the Rose Rehash. Listen, get subscribed, comment, let me know who gets roses from you, who gets divorce papers from you. Also, the Mumsy t-shirt. This is your last chance to get the Mumsy t-shirt. Flash that on the screen. Get that Mumsy t-shirt, shop.jaredfreid.com. And we'll be back next episode. Boom.